Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to continue our series of tutorials showing how to use Blender as a video editor and discuss creating a privacy blur using masking. Now I actually struggled for a while trying to come up with a concise descriptive title for this video, but since a picture is worth 1,000 words, I think I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So a privacy blur is where you'd like to take an image such as the one shown here and then blur out certain portions of the image to hide or anonymize something. So for example, this is actually a picture of me riding down the street on a one wheel, and suppose I wanted to make it anonymous and maybe blur out my face and perhaps also the logo on my t-shirt. So the goal is to end up with an image similar to the one shown on the right where you can no longer identify the individual or logo in the picture. Now you might hear this referred to as pixelization, face blur, or other names. Now, this is a pretty easy thing to do with a single image as shown here. Now, the trick, though, is how to do this if the object of interest is moving or changing shape during the video. Alright, so let me show you first the raw video that we're going to be working with today. So, again, this is just me riding down the street on the one wheel, and you can see as I get closer to the camera, I get bigger and I'm moving around in the frame, and most importantly, you can clearly see my face and the logo on my shirt. And now let's apply the moving privacy blur to that same video. So as you can see, the blur effect, it moves and it grows as the object of interest moves around the screen. So this is what we want to work on and build today. So if that sounds like more fun than a crate full of Hostess ding-dongs, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here we are in Blender. I've already got it set up for video editing, as you can kind of see over here. If you're unfamiliar with what these settings are or how I got to this stage, please check out our Getting Started with Blender for Video Editing tutorial. You can get to it by clicking on the card that has appeared in the upper right of your screen, or I'll leave a link to the URL in the description of this video below. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and add that movie, the raw movie that we saw earlier. So here we go, one wheel. I'll go ahead and add this to the movie strip, and here's the video. Let's go ahead and also build a proxy for this. So I'll build a 25% proxy. Okay, and let's change again. So instead of viewing the whole screen, I'm going to click up here and click on N, and then instead of seeing the original size, let's view the proxy instead, just so we can get a little bit faster scrubbing. Okay, so here's the video of driving and flying around on the one wheel, okay? Oh, and maybe what we should do is let's set the length here. Let me see, 330 frames. So let's go and set that right over here to 330. Okay, so we're all set. So now what I want to do, we can now start thinking about adding what's called a mask. So to do that, I need to add a masking tab. So this is a little bit new. So I'm going to come up here to the this button up here on the top. I'm going to click on this, and we're going to say add, and I want to come down here to VFX and masking. Okay, so there. Now what we end up with is we have this new masking tab. So the first thing I'm going to now do is come here to this open button in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to click on open, and I'm going to now select the exact same movie that we did earlier. So that's this onewheel.mp4 again. So I'll go ahead and select this and open this clip. So it opens up down here in this window. Now what's interesting is if we come back to our video editing or the rendering tab, so for example the video editing here, if I scroll this scrubber forward, and now if I come back to the masking tab, notice it's in the same location. So these two things are synced up at this point. So if I play the video down here in the masking tab, let me pause it right, whoops, that was too far. Let me get this back a little bit. Oops, sorry, I'm clicking on too many buttons. Let me hit pause right here. Okay, so here we are in the masking tab, and then you come back to the video editing tab. It's in the same location. So these two things are synced up at this point. So let's go ahead and get back to the beginning. Maybe, I don't know, frame 2 is fine. We can start somewhere near the beginning, okay? So let's go back to the masking tab, and what we want to do now is we want to now go ahead and click on the new button over here. Okay, we're going to create a new mask on this masking tab. So you click on this, okay, and now what it's going to do is it makes this button down here where it says new mask. Right? Now you want to give this thing a name. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to give this a name. Let's call this thing, how about privacy blur? Okay, hit enter. Okay, all right. So now what I can do is we need to draw a mask on this image. So what I'm going to do is let's zoom in a little bit. So I'll scroll up on my mouse wheel, and then I'll press and hold the middle mouse wheel and then drag it just so I can see what I'm working with, okay? So what we want to do is we want to start blurring out the face and the logo on the t-shirt. So we have to draw this mask. So the way we're going to draw the mask is I'm going to hold the Control key down, and then I'm just going to click on this image here. And you can see it's going to drop a dot. So I'm going to draw something around the area of interest. And this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Okay, so I'm just going to draw something a little bit bigger. You could close this off and make it a completely closed mask by pressing Alt-C, but you don't actually have to. I can leave it like this, okay? Now, you can sit here and you can manipulate these points if you want to move this a little bit or you want to make it a little bit more precise, however you like it. You can shape this mask to whatever you'd like, okay? Let's say I'm happy with this. What I want to do now is we're going to have to go ahead and draw this mask, or at least tell Blender how we want this mask to move at every frame in the process. Now, that is super duper tedious if you think about it, right? You don't want to stop at every single frame and have to redraw this. So we're going to use this idea of keyframes. So again, we had another video describing keyframes. So I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video, or again, click on the card that just appeared in the upper right-hand side of your screen if you want to review how keyframes work. I would highly recommend you do that before continuing on, just so you understand what we're going to do. Now, assuming you have done this, what we can do now is I want to show you another cool feature. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on what's called auto keyframing, which is this little button down here, this circle. So what this is going to do, when I click on this, it's going to start auto keyframing in the sense of when I make a change to this mask, it's going to drop in a new keyframe point, okay? So, yeah, that's our game plan. So let's go ahead and do this. So we've got one point here. So again, let me adjust this mask a little bit, okay? And you may have to do this one time at the very beginning, right? You may need to just slightly adjust all these points after you turned on auto keyframing, or maybe it would have been smarter to turn on auto keyframing before drawing this, because now, as you can see, we get a keyframe up here by this little dot, okay? So now what I'm going to do is let's advance the movie a little bit. Oh, okay, and let's pause here. Now look at that. The subject moved away from where the mask was, okay? So I need to now move the mask to now cover the new location of the subject. So what I can do is you could either grab all these points individually and move them, but that's kind of a big pain. I would like to select all of these points and move the entire mask as one big unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click down here in the area, okay? I'm going to press the A key to select all of them, and then I'm going to press the G key to grab all of those points. And now when I move my mouse, look at this, all of them move. And now when I click on the when I click on my mouse button, go ahead and watch. Whoops, sorry. Oh shoot, I lost it. What did I do with the mask? Oh no, I moved it way up here. Sorry. I moved it too far. I was trying to draw your attention to the fact of when I hit the key button, it's going to drop a new keyframe in here. So as long as I don't move off this frame, I'm still okay. Again, let me click down here, click A to select them all, click G to grab them, and move it back down over the person's face. And let me zoom in a little bit. G to grab them. Okay. There we go. Okay, that should have, that fixed my little goof up where I moved the mask way too far off the screen. Okay, so now we've got this set. So now if I zoom backwards, right, see, look at this. Isn't this cool? The mask is moving now with the subject, okay? So again, let's just move forward a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be precise. Maybe, you know, like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so the subject has moved a little bit. So I'm going to stop, okay? And now, again, since I have auto keyframing on, all I have to do is make sure I'm down here. I'm going to, click on the image. I'm going to press A to select all of the points, press G to grab all of those mask points, move it to the location, and as soon as I click on the left mouse button, watch the keyframe get dropped up there in the upper keyframe screen. So I'm going to click, see, and then a new keyframe gets generated. So now you can also grow the mask. So for example, let's make this thing grow because the subject is getting closer to the camera. So maybe we want this mask to sort of start expanding with them. And now again, because it's doing this auto keyframing, if I scroll backwards, we can watch this mask grow with the subjects. Isn't this cool? See? All right, so now it's just the process of going ahead and basically doing this iteratively over and over at appropriate keyframes, and then Blender will interpolate between those keyframes to get the mask to move with the person. So again, let's do it one more time just for completeness. So okay, so the guys moved a little bit, so I'm going to click down here in the masking screen. I'm going to press A to select all of them, press G to grab the mask, move it around, click left mouse button to drop the mask there. Here you get a keyframe, and I can start manipulating these if I want. So I don't think you want to watch me do this for the entire video, so I'm going to speed the video up quite a bit just so you can see me doing this, moving the mask and manipulating it and using the auto keyframes to fill in the blanks as we go along. All right, so I think we're finished. I mean, it's not perfect, but now, as you can see, as we kind of scrub through the video here in this masking tab, you can see the mask moving with the subject. And in fact, it's not just translating, but it's also kind of growing. You can make it grow or shrink however you like. So again, this is looking pretty good. Again, it's not perfect. You can kind of spend as much time as you would like on this process, but I think this is the general gist. We basically have now a mask that is moving with the subject throughout the frame, or throughout the movie. So let's go ahead and save this. This looks good. Okay. So let's go back to the video editor. So I'm going to come over here and click on the video editor tab. Okay, and now what we need to think about doing is applying that mask to this video. All right, so to do that, the first thing we need to do is add an adjustment layer to the video clip. So I'm going to click on the video clip here, right? This is the video track on channel 2, and I'm going to then come up here and say Add Adjustment Layer. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to make this adjustment layer the same length as this video clip. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the the left side, grab the left side, let's bring it back here to 1, and also let's make this the same length, so 329. There we go. Okay, all right, now what we need to do is on this adjustment layer, let's come over here to modifiers, add strip modifier, and then come down here to mask. Okay, and now if you come down here and click on this button, the mask input type, I want to change this to mask, and here I'm going to have a drop down of possible masks. So if I click on this, aha, look at this. This is the privacy blur mask that we just created. So click on that. All right. I've seen sometimes you may need to change this mask time from relative to absolute here, but in this case, relative should work for us. So again, let's go ahead and save this. This sounds pretty good so far. Okay, now what we need to do is on this adjustment layer, we are going to add what's called a Gaussian blur, because right now, if you notice, the picture is not blurred at all. And in fact, I mean, it might look a little blurry, but this is due to the fact that we're actually staring here at a 25% size proxy. So at this point, this might be a good time to switch this back to the actual scene rendered size, like a full 100%. Okay, so I'm going to do that so we get a sharper image here. Great, so we can see it. And you can say, wait a second, this is not working right now. You don't see the blur happening. Okay, that's because what we need to do is we need to actually add, like I said, that Gaussian blur to this adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on the adjustment layer here. Okay, then I'm going to go Add Effect Strip Gaussian Blur. Okay, so now let's do that. And now what we can do is let's start. Let me do a port where the person is very close, where I'm very close. Okay, so there you can see what's going on. Now it's still not blurred. The reason why is we need to come here on this Gaussian blur layer and come up here to strip, and then this size right here, it's 0 in the X and 0 in the Y. So we need to start cranking this up until the picture starts getting blurry. So let's crank this thing up, and you might have to go quite a bit. I think it's okay. It's starting to blur. Let's keep going. Aha! You see how it's getting a little bit more blurry? Tell you what, this is taking too long. Let's just put in numbers. How about 15? Enter. Look at that. It's getting blurry, right? Good. Let's do. I don't know. How about 30? Ah, that's looking pretty good. Let's do the same thing in the Y direction. 30, enter. Look at that. There you go. This thing is now getting pretty darn blurry. Now, let's go a little higher, see if this works. If you go too high, though, you'll notice that sometimes this might not work. So here, 40, this is looking even better. But, you know, if you go crazy, and I think if you put something like 200, you see how it doesn't quite work? It almost gets, it's too big. We've overshot it, right? If I do this, look at this. Now it becomes visible again. So we better stay somewhere in that middle ground. What did we say that was? Maybe 40 looked pretty good. Okay, 40 and 40. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty darn good. Now, here's another interesting thing. If we scroll backwards, let's go back to the beginning of the video. Okay, so look at this. The blur is being applied, right? It's working. Now look at this, though. Back here where the person is a little bit further away, let's zoom in to the strip. Okay, so I'll click up here, scroll up. Look at this. So again, it's almost like this blur size is too big relative to the size of the image. So back here when the person is far away and the image is small, we might need this blur number to be smaller, and then as it gets closer, we might need that to be bigger, right? So again, this is another great location for keyframing. So let's go ahead and let's come back to somewhere near the start of the video, something like this, okay? So here, right now you can see the blur does not seem to be taking much effect, okay? So now what we can do is let's make this a little bit smaller. I don't know, 5. There, that looks okay. And let's do 5 in both directions. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's start with a 5 and a 5 here. So again, what we want to do is we want to keyframe this value, right? We want to keyframe the value of 5 in the Gaussian blur. So I'm going to hover over this, and I'm going to press I. There we go. That keyframed the size X. I'm going to hover over the size Y and press I again. I for India, right? There we go. So now here at this time step at 47 frames in, it'll be a size 5. And then we know as we come here to the end of the image, whoops, let's see, where was that? Come back up. I think I went too far. Come on. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay. So here, near the end of the image, you can see that this size 5 blur is way too small, right? It's not going to work. We needed this back up to something like 40 and 40, right? And now, what's actually interesting is that as I typed that in, whoops, come on, is it going to go? Is it going to take, did I hit 40? 40, oh, there, 40, enter. Okay, because I had auto keyframing on, notice, look at this, it actually already keyframed this for me at 40. So now, as I start going backwards, look at this. You can see that number going smaller and smaller. So look at that. This is perfect. So now we've got the mask that's moving, and we've also keyframed the size of the Gaussian blur. So this should work quite well. So again, let's go ahead and save this, and let's go ahead and render the scene now. So I'll go Ctrl F12 to render it. Okay. And this might take a little while, but as you can see here, well, it's probably a little bit hard to see right now, but it is blurring the picture. Tell you what, let's give this a couple minutes to run, and then we'll take a look at the final output. All right, so it looked like it finished rendering. Let's go and take a look at the output. All right, so it wasn't perfect, and as you can see, you can probably spend as much time as you want getting that mask to move exactly perfectly correct, but I think you get the idea. Just to summarize, I wanted to add a quick cheat sheet of how to do this in case you wanted to quickly refer to this in the future. So we saw the process for adding this privacy blur is to basically first go ahead and add the movie to the video sequence, the video editing sequencer, right? Once you've done that, you then need to add a masking tab, and we do that by clicking at the plus sign at the top of the screen, then choosing VFX and then masking. Okay. Once you're on that masking screen tab, what you can then do is you need to click on the open button, which was near the middle of the screen, and then you select the same movie that you did in step 1. Once you've done that, you go ahead and click on the new button, which was kind of in that odd location near the bottom left of the screen, and then you just give the mask some kind of name. Once you've done that, it's just a matter of going ahead and drawing your mask using the Ctrl Click technique, and then turning on auto keyframing. And again, steps 3 and 4, it might be better if you do the auto keyframing first and then draw the mask. But anyway, long story short, what that should allow you to do then is now be able to move or advance forward by several frames and then update the mask. So again, remember, when you're updating the mask, you press the A key to select all the points and then the G key to grab and move all of those points. Once you're done moving that mask and auto keyframing it through the entire sequence, you then just need to go back to the video editing sequencer, and then we add an adjustment layer to the video clip, and you have to make it the same length as the clip, right? And you do that again. Once you've done that, we need to then go ahead and add a modifier to that adjustment layer. So you click on modifiers, add strip modifiers, mask, and then choose the mask that we had created. And then lastly, you need to then select the adjustment layer that you just created in step 6A, and then you go up and you say add effect strip Gaussian blur, and then make the size X and the size Y a non-zero value. And after that, you basically render the movie and you should be done. So with that being said, I think this is a great spot to leave it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, I also hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Surprisingly, if you just scroll down a little way and click on that subscribe button, it really does help me continue making these videos. Also, please leave a comment and let me know if the video was helpful or if there are topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Now, remember, also the new videos come out every Monday, so I hope to catch you at one of these future discussions where we can all learn something new together. So, until we talk again, I think I'll sign off for now. Bye!